Hello. Welcome to Kindly Neurodivergent with Kay. This show is to spend quality time with each other, kindly discussing the similarities and wide range of differences we experience. The experiences we discuss on this show are for educational purposes only. Please do not substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Before we begin, I respectfully request that if you witness any pauses during this show, please continue watching. I'm composing a spontaneous comment or question, someone processing their thoughts, in addition to repeating something that was unintelligible or misunderstood. It is natural discourse, and we can choose not to say anything while this is occurring. In lieu of National Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month, I have Sharon Draper here with me. She's here to discuss her trilogy of Out of My series featuring character with cerebral palsy. Sharon Draper is a celebrated educator and author, renowned for her numerous accolades and contributions to literature and education. She has been honored as National Teacher of the Year, a 5-time Coretta Scott King Literary Award winner, and a New York Times best-selling author, among other prestigious titles such as Ohio's Outstanding High School Language Arts Educator and Milk and Family Foundation National Educator Award winner. A dedicated member of organizations like the YWCA and the National Council of Teachers of English, Sharon travels extensively, sharing her insights on television and radio. As a public speaker, she captivates audiences with her poetry and novels, while also delivering educational presentations. Welcome, Sharon.
Well, thank you. That was a powerful, powerful introduction. Yeah.
Please introduce yourself.
Well, let's see. I live in Florida. I used to live in Ohio, and I might go back to Ohio, I'm not sure. But I live in Florida and with my dog, uh, a golden retriever. If you notice, there is a golden retriever in every single book, and this is Cookie. She's the most recent one. And she likes to be on my Zooms because I give her treats. She says, "Oh, we're gonna Zoom. It's time for a treat." So I pull out the treats and hopefully she'll stay quiet while we're working. Mhm.
I am Kayla Ireland. I have cerebral palsy. What led you to becoming an author?
Hmm. I think in order to be a writer, you have to first be a reader. And that's what I was. I was a reader. I read dozens and dozens and dozens, maybe hundreds of books because the library was right down the street from my house. So I went every single week and I checked out a book every single time. And actually several books. So by the time I was like 11 or 12, I had read all of the books on the children's side of the library. Whoa.
Wow. 3 years ago on March 25th, I became a co-author of a cerebral palsy book. This
Oh,
analysis of my life is chapter 13, The Legend.
oh, wow. That's excellent.
It's called Living with Cerebral Palsy, led by Kyle Scott.
That's great.
Why is providing relatable characters with disabilities important to you?
I think it's important to everybody because there are people with all kinds of special needs next door, down the street, around the corner, at the store. everywhere you go, there are people who have different kinds of needs and requirements. And uh, I just focused on one particular group, one particular need, and gave them a voice through melody.
What made you?
To write,
Since you have other books.
oh yes, I have written almost 30 books. All of my books deal with young people. Uh, Most of my characters are girls, and the boys have been complaining. So you need to write a boy book, although there are some that have boys as the main characters. But I started writing because I loved reading, and I read dozens and dozens and dozens of books. And when I got old enough, I said, I can write a book. I know I can write a book because I've read so many books. Um, and so I wrote my very first book and I sent it in and I got 25 letters in the mail. This was back when they didn't have email. They sent you real letters on a piece of paper in an envelope. And uh, I sent in 25 letters. I got 24 letters it back that said no, but one said yes. And that was my
What
first
made you
book.
do this series, since you have other books?
I like to vary. There's three books about melody now. And the boys have been telling me you need to write a book about a boy. So the next book, the main character will be a boy because all of my main characters have been girls. And so the boys are complaining. So the next book will be, the main character will be a boy. I don't know what it's going to be about yet, but he's going to have some problems.
Why did you choose the age group you did?
I think that age group is just learning to love reading. You know, they've gotten past the point of learning how to read, and then they're realizing, wow, books are awesome. Books are fun. I can learn things in books. So I was always a very, 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 very passionate reader. I would check out 10 books out of the library because that was the max that they would let you take. And then uh and then I'd take them back the next week and get 10 more.
Please discuss what steps you went through to represent melody as you did.
Hmm. The creating melody took several years. It did not happen quickly. I had to uh I had to speak to people. I had to do research. I had to make sure that I was doing it right. I went to schools, I went to camps. I talked to parents, I talked to young people, um, because I didn't want to get it wrong, you know. So I had to make sure that I did it right.
Thank you for your due diligence. How did you ensure an accurate depiction of experiences and challenges?
Well, for example, in the second book, Melody goes to summer camp. So I went to a summer camp for kids with special needs. I stayed there for a couple of days. I learned how you have to push the wheelchair backwards so they're not going forward out of the chair. I learned, how to feed them. I learned how to, I learned that everybody had such a great sense of humor and would tell jokes. And I really, really enjoyed just getting to know the people.
And she got a boyfriend.
Yes, she finally got a boyfriend.
Mm.
I wrote it highlighting both the challenges and victories of my life from birth to present day.
You wrote a book already?
3 years ago on March 25th, I became a co-author of a cerebral palsy book. The
Wonderful.
synopsis of my life is chapter 13, The Legend.
Okay. Okay, wonderful.
I
So
wrote
now,
it highlighting both the challenges and victories of my life from birth to present day.
yes. Well, I'm very proud of you. Um, because, it's the kind of thing that can get some people down, but you're strong, I can tell.
How can writing challenge stereotypes?
Um, I think I don't know if writing can, but reading can, and so what I try to do is write books that challenge stereotypes, that challenge all kinds of things. So, if I wanted to say, write a story about a girl who wanted to be a swimmer, you know, I would have to do some research. I would have to go swimming, and I can't swim, so that would be hard. I would
Mm.
have to talk to people who can swim, and then I would have to write down all of the feelings that it takes, like what it feels like when you go into the water and what
Mm.
it feels like when you come back up out of the water. I had to experience all that so I could write about it. It's very hard to write about something that you don't know anything about. So I tried to find out as much as I could by every topic.
Yeah.
Talk about avoiding portraying characters with disabilities as solely defined by their limitations, instead highlighting their strengths, resilience, and achievements.
Good point. Good point. I once hurt my leg and I was on an airplane and they put me in a wheelchair after when I got off the plane to take me back to the gate. And you know what I learned from sitting in that wheelchair? Nobody makes eye contact with you.
Mm.
Nobody looks at you. You know, it was like I was invisible. We would come directly at somebody and they'd look the other way. Nobody looked at me when I was in that wheelchair. I learned so much just from that incident.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah. Um, but it's true. And you know it because you've seen those looks, I'm sure.
Unfortunately,
Are you still in school?
Mm.
What grade?
college.
College. Do the other students at the college treat you with respect?
Mm.
Since 2017.
Good. Dog is being bad. I'm going to put you out of here. Oh, scoot, scoot, scoot.
I prefer to take no more than 2 courses each semester.
Oh, well, that's good. That way you weren't overloading yourself.
Yeah.
How do you make sure a book uses language that is clear, understandable, and avoids stereotypes?
Well, um, I'm a reader. I was a reader before I was a writer, and I read literally hundreds of books. I read every book I could get my hand on. I read books that probably my mother didn't want me to read. I read all kinds of books. And I think in order to be a writer, you have to first be a reader. So you understand words and you understand language and you understand how the written word is important and how when we read the written word, we are lifted up.
Explain including factual information about specific disabilities within the narrative to foster understanding.
Yes, I try to do that. I do lots and lots of research, lots of research. For example, when she went to summer camp, I went to a summer camp and and I looked at all the activities that the young people did, and so I learned a lot about the summer camp. And in the third book, she goes to London, England. So I had to go to London for research.
I made sure to explain the purposes of the evaluations and techniques I use to make my life easier, better, and safer.
Mhm.
For example, a barium swallow study helps us understand more about how I swallow.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because I have delayed swallowing.
I didn't get the first part of your conversation.
Because I have delayed swallowing.
Okay.
Why do people feel like reading can help dismantle negative stereotypes and misconceptions?
Well, the only way we will learn is from others. Okay. Um, and our interactions with others. And reading is a as a writer, I get to interact with people I've never met before, like you know, like all of the people that look at me online. I get to interact with lots and lots of people. So I hope I'm making a positive reaction, um, a positive appeal to anybody who happens to read about me or read one of my books. I care about people.
Do you think it is better than movies?
Um, it's different. When you read, the pictures appear in your head. You know, I'm reading the words and the pictures appear in my head. So it's my own story in my head because I'm reading it. Um, when you are reading out loud, sometimes you're sharing the story. But reading is the way, and writing is the way that we communicate with each other. So it's real important that we get it right.
How do you promote empathy?
Hmm. I think The best way to promote empathy is by making sure that the characters that you create are empathetic. For example, in the second book, Melody goes to summer camp. Did you read that one?
No.
Okay, so at summer camp, she's away from her parents, she's away from Mrs. V. She has to find her own way. And for the first time in her life, she makes friends. So I think that's real important, that kind of empathy, because a lot of times people, if they see you in the wheelchair at the store, they don't think about you. They don't think about your thoughts and your dreams and your hopes and your wishes.
Mm,
So, but with a book, you can do that. And with a made up character, you can do that.
yeah.
How do you boost self-esteem and sense of belonging for young people with cerebral palsy?
I try to make sure that the stories about Melody are realistic and fair and honest and uh and understandable, because somebody who sees somebody with cerebral palsy, like say at the store, isn't going to approach you and say, "Hello, how are you?" I will. But a lot of other people are kind of afraid and says, "Okay, I don't want to bother her. I don't want to mess with her." So I have learned that people mostly want to know each other. They want to get to know each other, and um, most people are nice.
And it can look like other diagnoses.
Yes, yes. Um, there's all kinds of diagnoses, and there's all kinds of conditions that people learn to live with. Cerebral palsy is just one of them, but I think by reading Out of My Mind, the people get to understand a larger world of people who live the world with differences.
With similarities and diversity.
Yes, exactly. What city do you live in?
New England,
What city? What part of New England?
Connecticut.
Okay, okay. Um, I've been in Connecticut in the fall. So beautiful when the leaves change. It's just beautiful.
Mm,
Yeah. Just writing that and describing all the colors. Wow. I've been there. It's beautiful.
mm, mm,
Until freezing.
mm,
That will do.
How do you address that people with disabilities grow up?
Well, the audience that I write for are 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. And when you're that age, you don't ever think you'll grow up. You think
right.
you'll always be 9 or 10. And eventually, as they grow up, I hope that they have learned something by something that I have written, And I hope that they treat people differently because of what I've written.
Out of My Mind is a movie on Disney Plus. What do you think of it?
Okay. I did not write the movie. I did not film the movie, but I did get to go and watch them film it. It was so cool. The cameras and that scene where it's raining in the book. In the movie, there's a scene where it's raining real hard. They have this huge sprinkler that sits up on the side and it rains. The sprinkler comes down and gets everybody wet in the scene. It's all fake, but it's really, really done well. It was so much fun. I got to watch them make the movie. I got to watch them. They were ladders and there were Zoom things and there were all kinds of special equipment. And I got to sit there and watch them do it. It was really one of the most awesome things of my life.
I watched and love it. It truly represents what challenges and triumphs my family and so many others, even if CP isn't the diagnosis, go through indefinitely. Of
Exactly.
course,
Exactly.
I would recommend this movie to anyone and appreciate it if you watch it.
Yes.
I hope this representation grows.
I hope so too. The young lady who played Melody actually has cerebral palsy. And did you know that? Yeah. And she's a dynamite actress, just wonderful young actress.
Mm.
What challenges did you face in the writing process?
Uh, Writing doesn't challenge me. Writing is fun for me. Um, the biggest challenge was to make sure I got it right because I didn't want to talk about, say, for example, somebody with Down syndrome and not explain it perfectly and with respect.
Mm.
So I made very, very sure to make sure that I was treating the person with a disability with respect and with proper um, acknowledgement.
I had a word count limit that was hard to stick within.
Yeah.
It's tricky when you can go on and on.
Yeah, it's cool. I get to write kind of what I want to. I have an editor though who reads it and I know what I'm doing and she says, it's a nice start, dear. And I'm going,
Mm.
and then she makes me fix it. And I
Mm.
do. And
Yeah.
I do.
Hopefully one day I will have an autobiography.
Well, you should start working on it. You
Mm.
should really start talking write about the earliest things you remember, sounds, smells, the smell of the Christmas tree, the smell of the feel of snow, if you ever put your hand in the snow,
Mm.
surprisingly, it feels hot, not cold when you put your hand in the snow. Um, when you're writing, put as much description as possible because that gets your reader into where you are.
Taste of barium.
I didn't get that. I'm sorry.
Taste of barium.
Barium? Oh, those barium animals. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yucky.
What is a piece of advice that you would give to an author that is having a hard time portraying neurodiversity in a book?
Are you planning on writing that book? You should. You could. Um, I tell people who who are not neurodivergent um, to make sure you get it right. Don't fake it. Don't make stuff up. I,
No.
yeah, I did so many interviews with young people who um, who told me the truth, told me what it was like. I talked to their parents of what it was like to be their parent. I talked to their brothers and sisters. And so to try to get it right, I talked to as many people as I could. I talked to teachers.
If you ever need my perspective, let me know.
I will. I will. I will consider you as a very strong advocate. I'm getting ready to start a new book. I don't know what's going to happen in it yet, but I
Mm,
think the main character is going to be a boy
mm,
because I've had so many girls in the stories, and the boys say, okay, okay, okay. How about a story about us? So the next one, I think, is going to be about a boy. I don't know if he's going to have special needs. I haven't decided yet. I don't even know. I have to decide where he's going to live. Like, does he live where it's warm all the time and he can go to the beach, or does he live uh, like where it's cold and it's snow and what's
mm.
it like to go in the snow in a wheelchair? So there's a lot of thinking you have to do before you write a single word.
Thank you, Sharon, for doing this with me. It
Well,
was great to have you on.
it was my
Please share this
pleasure.
talk show with your family, friends, and colleagues.
I will.
Everyone watching, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and share on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.